Here is the problem. We've had multiple deals with the United States and Europeans 6 times in the past 25 years.
Multiple what? Things?
Multiple accords, agreements with the United States and Europeans. And in all these cases, according to the US and Western officials, Iran has always complied with its undertakings. And the United States and Europeans have never done the only one thing they should have done: remove the sanctions.
When most people talk about Iran and the United States, they reduce it to geopolitics, sanctions, nuclear deals, power balances. But to understand Iran's mindset, you have to see the world through Iran's own history and belief system. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran has framed its foreign policy not just strategically but spiritually. Iran's founding leadership from Ruhollah Khomeini onward labeled the United States the Great Satan and Israel the Little Satan. Those aren't casual insults. They are part of an ideological worldview rooted in resistance. Resistance against what they see as modern imperialism and cultural corruption. In recent anniversary, rallies marking the 47th year of the revolution, crowds still chant slogans like "Death to America" and "Death to Israel." And we see symbolic acts like burning an effigy of Baal, decorated with Israeli symbols. This shows us that Iran sees its conflict with global powers in both historical and moral terms. Iranian Muslims equate Israel and the United States with idolatry and corrupt global influence, echoing ancient biblical imagery where Baal represented false gods and spiritual corruption. And here's the thing, most Western analysts miss this. Iran doesn't just read the world in terms of military power or economic pressure. They read the world through the lens of Shia Islam, Shia theology, especially the story of resistance embodied by Imam Hosein alayhi salam at Karbala, and the belief in the hidden Imam, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. In Shia Islam, the Mahdi is believed to be in occultation. He's hidden and will reappear at the end of times to establish justice. The belief isn't fringe. It's central to the state's worldview and deeply influences how leaders and many of their citizens interpret global events. This isn't to say Iran thinks the apocalypse is guaranteed, but it does mean they see pressure, conflict and injustice not as failures, but as signals that history is moving toward a destined climax. When senior Iranian officials say they won't negotiate over ballistic missiles or bow to external military pressure, it's not stubbornness, it's conviction that resistance is a path to endurance. My dear friends, remember this. Iran has publicly rejected linking its missile program to nuclear negotiations and has insisted that external threats don't intimidate them. Even though world powers, including the United States, have ramped up military presence and prepared for possible conflict, Iranian leadership continues to frame its position as one of standing firm rather than backing down. Some Western voices say Iran's defiance makes war more likely, but Iran views it differently. If the United States wants confrontation, history is moving towards confrontation. Not because Iran seeks war, but because Iran believes that settling injustices and resisting what they call the satanic powers is part of a larger historical arc.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
From Iran's perspective, fear is not the currency of diplomacy. Resistance is. Let me be clear. Iran does negotiate, and its president recently said Iran is willing to open nuclear sites for verification and denies pursuing atomic weapons. But the skepticism toward the United States runs deep. And can you blame them? You can't blame Iran for having a negative view on the United States. And this view is rooted in a long history of mistrust and conflicting worldviews. So here's the question no one wants to ask out loud. If the United States wants end times escalation, then fine. Iran believes it's already living in the end times framework. That's why they burn symbols of what they call satanic influence. That's why they chant resistance slogans decades after the revolution. And that's why, in their narrative, the fall of unjust global power isn't something to fear. It's something to anticipate. When you see Iran through this lens, not just geopolitically but spiritually, you begin to understand why pressure doesn't always produce fear and why defiance doesn't always lead to collapse. Because in Iran's history itself is moving toward justice. And if the United States wants to accelerate that final era, then history will follow its course. In Iran's worldview, history isn't random chaos, it's moving toward a final moment of justice. This comes from their belief in Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, who is believed to be an occultation and will return at the end times to restore justice after an age of oppression and corruption. So when Iran talks tough to America and Israel, it's not just politics. They genuinely see themselves as standing on the right side of history. From that perspective, pressure, sanctions, threats, even war don't stop what they believe is divinely destined. In fact, they see Western aggression as proof that the world is moving closer to that final era, the era of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So when people say if the United States wants end times, then it can happen, what they really mean is no superpower can stop what they believe God has already written. And if America keeps pushing, Iran believes history will simply move faster toward that moment of reckoning and justice. Thanks for listening to the Independent Islamic Republic. Assalamu alaikum. Over and out.